Mira of the Pleiades. You are free greetings. I am Mira, a member of the High Pleiadian Council and also of the Earth Council. Like Apollo, I greet you today with all the love in my heart. Earth is like one of my children. We have nurtured and assisted you for a long time. We support you in this ascension process. We know your ups and downs, your mistakes and your beliefs, and every thought you have about these times of miraculous healing and consciousness elevation. Every act of kindness is noticed. Every time you reach out your hands and heart to someone, it is noticed. It is as if you are installing the new programs for living in paradise on Earth. And that is exactly what you're doing. You are eliminating the old negative programs that have constrained you in the past. These programs are no longer valid, and you are free to live from your heart and have wonderful days every day. Yes, you are about to be set free, beloveds. Even if it seems to you now that everything is at stake, please understand that it is done. It is finished. There is no more room for fear. Fear does not exist in the fifth dimension and beyond. Please release yourself from any residue that may surface. Remember, it is only a test. It is only a trial on your path to happiness. Please understand that any negative thoughts or experiences you have had or are experiencing are simply rising to be purified and to allow you to create a new world. This new world is here now. Some of you may perceive it constantly, others may feel it come and go, but this is how ascension works. It is different for everyone, yet similar in many ways. Everything is moving very quickly right now. Time no longer flows according to the old mechanical clock, even though you still have to schedule appointments, etc. Your entire perception of reality is shifting. Even your dietary preferences, what you eat and drink, are changing. Soon we will meet, along with many other galactic friends. We will have the chance to get to know each other. We have existed for a long time. We will need you to be ready to help those who don't know us, to be ambassadors and teachers of truth. Have compassion for the rest of humanity, because they will be shaken by what they discover. The ground crew is serving as a bridge of light. You will know what to do. Today I greet you with a song in my heart and the promise of eternal bliss and love from our Creator. I am Mira. Co-creating a higher order of government on July 4th, 2026, the United States of America will celebrate its 250th anniversary. On that day, millions of people will focus on the principles upon which this nation was founded. Such principles reflect unity, liberty, justice, victory, equality, and prosperity. Although American citizens are currently highly polarized and hold very different views on what these principles mean and how to apply them in life, in the realms of illumined truth there is no confusion. There is no misunderstanding regarding these principles, even in the divine consciousness of every person's I am presence. One of the profound truths emerging as we co-create our new solar reality is that the solar light we are receiving now is infinitely more powerful than any light we have ever experienced. This light transcends, by leaps and bounds, our fragmented, fear-based thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. This truth offers us a glimpse of how empowered we have become and of our remarkably expanded ability to contribute to the light of the world even in the most traumatic moments of chaos and confusion. Usually, when something negative occurs in the outer world, it captures the attention of the masses of humanity. Unfortunately, our instinctive reaction is usually shock, fear, confusion, and often anger. What the beings of light want us to understand is that the focused attention of the masses of humanity creates a cup of collective consciousness. Whatever humanity thinks and feels flows through this cup of consciousness and influences every person on Earth. The company of heaven wants us to know that during this tumultuous and often difficult period, if you and I avoid that instinctive reaction and instead of flooding the planet with negative thoughts and feelings, develop the habitual response of instantly invoking God's light into the situation, we will have the ability to make an enormous difference even during the most traumatic events in the outer world. Right now, millions of people are focusing on the difficult situations affecting the various governments of the world, and a collective cup of humanity's consciousness has been formed. Regardless of circumstances, you and I have the ability to invoke God's light through this collective cup of humanity's consciousness and transmute, through the power of the new solar frequencies of the violet flame, everything that is not of the light. With the focus of millions of Americans on unity, liberty, justice, victory, equality, and prosperity during all the celebrations for America's 250th anniversary, the Company of Heaven asks us to strengthen the patterns for divine government in the United States of America, as well as in every other country in the world. Divine government is a heart-based government, formed by the I Am Presence, from the I Am Presence, and for the I Am Presence of every person on Earth. the beings of light in the realms of illumined truth who are associated with helping humanity establish the patterns of divine government on our new crystal solar fifth-dimensional Earth are Saint Germain and Lady Portia, the keepers of the new solar violet flame, El Morya and Lady Miriam, the exponents of God's will and divine government, Archangel Michael and Lady Faith and their legions of power and protection, the mighty Astrea, Elohim of purity, and the majestic goddesses of liberty, justice, victory, glory, unity, and transfiguration. All of these selfless representatives of our Father Mother God are now ready to assist us in co-creating a higher order of divine government. If you feel the call of the heart to help in this holy endeavor, join us now. And let us begin. I am presence, and I am one with the I am presence of all humanity. As one breath, one voice, one heartbeat, and one energy, vibration and consciousness of pure divine love we invoke. Our Father Mother God, and the great beings of light associated with the co-creation of divine government on this blessed planet. We also invoke the mighty archangels and ascended masters who guard Earth's evolution. Now, the goddess of liberty takes her strategic position in the cardinal point of the north. The goddess of divine justice takes her position in the cardinal point of the east. The goddess of freedom takes her position in the cardinal point of the south. And the goddess of victory takes her position in the cardinal point of the west. Joining these powerful beings of light are the goddess of glory, occupying her position at the center of the earth, and the goddesses of unity and transfiguration, positioned high in Earth's atmosphere. Together with them, in Earth's atmosphere, are the silent watchers, who guard the immaculate concept for every government in every country of the world, and the mighty guardians, who assist humanity in countless ways, strengthening divine government on planet Earth. Beloved beings of light, we ask you to now radiate the most intense frequencies of divine will, divine love, and divine illumination from the very heart of our Father Mother God through the heart flame of every person who is now, or who will be in the future, involved in any way with the governments of Earth. Awaken each of these people to the profound opportunity and immense responsibility they have in this cosmic moment. Illuminate them to the deep truth that the time has come for divine government to manifest now. In the name, love, wisdom, power, and authority of the beloved presence of God, I am, blazing in my heart and in the hearts of all humanity, and through the power of the victory of the light now manifested on earth, we invoke Saint Germain and Lady Portia, Elohim Astrea, and Archangel Michael, and his legions of power and protection. Beloveds, come now. Gather every electron of the precious life energy that humanity is expending right now. Instantly transmute this cause, core, effect, record, and memory of energy back into light. Blaze the new solar violet flame with the power and force of 1,000 suns within, through, and around this life energy until every atomic and subatomic particle and wave reflects the immaculate concept of its original divine potential. Beloveds, weave this purified life energy into the collective cup of humanity's consciousness so that every electron of precious life energy spent by humanity right now may be used to expand the patterns of perfection for divine government in our new solar reality on Mother Earth. Archangel Michael, we ask you to now direct your angels of power and protection to descend upon Washington, D.C. and the surrounding suburban areas. With their blue flame swords, cut, 3x, every governmental force that is not of the light. Encapsulate these energies in your ring pass not of the first cause of God's perfection. Now, mighty Astrea, we ask you to direct your legions of the cosmic circle of white lightning to purify, 3x, every electron of this energy. Beloved Archangel Michael and mighty Astrea, now lift every electron of this energy into the arms of divine grace, as our Father Mother God encodes the patterns of divine government into every particle and wave of this life energy. Beloved Archangel Michael and mighty Astrea, we ask you to now direct your legions to extend this divine service to the governments of every state, city, county, and settlement in the United States of America. Encapsulate these energies in your ring pass knot of the first cause of God's perfection and in your cosmic circle of white lightning. Cut, 3x, and purify, 3x, every governmental force that is not of the light. Beloved Archangel Michael and mighty Astrea, now lift every electron of this energy into the arms of divine grace, as our Father Mother God encodes the patterns of divine government into every particle and wave of this life energy. Beloveds, now extend this divine service to the governments of every country, nation, city, province, county, and village on earth. Encapsulate these energies in your ring pass knot of the first cause of God's perfection and in your cosmic circle of white lightning. Cut 3x and purify 3x every governmental force that is not of the light. Beloved Archangel Michael and mighty Astrea, now lift every electron of this energy into the arms of divine grace, as our Father Mother God encodes the patterns of divine government into every particle and wave of this life energy. Beloved legions of light, now in the full authority of God's will on earth, we command that in every place where negativity has been removed from the governments of the world, a pattern for the all-encompassing divine love of God, Christ consciousness, and divine government be permanently established now and forever. Now we seal this invocation in the divine will and all-encompassing divine love of our Father Mother God. And we decree through all levels of consciousness, victory is ours in the love that governs this planet. Victory is ours in the love that governs this planet. Victory is ours in the love that governs this planet. And so it is, beloved I am. Beloved I am. Beloved I am that I am. The decree for Earth and ITS nations in the full power and authority of the beloved presence of God I am. We, the children of Earth, humbly present ourselves to the heart of our Father Mother God to invoke upon the physical plane of Earth the most intense activity of God's will and divine love ever manifested in the history of time. We invoke the legions of light in service to Mother Earth to absorb this divine essence into every fiber of their being and project it into the heart flame and conscious mind of every person associated with the governments of this planet at every level. Blaze the cosmic flames of God's will and divine love in each of these souls and remove every destructive activity of their free will, which might attempt to creep in to hinder their conscious desire to do God's will. Help them to remain obedient to the law of harmony and to be God in action in every moment. Seal all government officials, individually and collectively, in the light of God's will and divine love. Reveal through the flame of illumined truth the divine purpose and plan for every office and for every individual, and give each one the spiritual courage and desire to fulfill that plan to perfection. May the light of God, ever victorious, illumine and guide all humanity everywhere, even as I call. May the will of God and the love of God manifest in, through, and around all governments of the world, now and forever. I decree and accept it done as the presence of God I am. And so it is, beloved I am that I am. Galactic message. Overlapping realities, there are countless versions of Earth, and your collective experience accessible to consciousness at any given moment. Although they appear to exist as a single world, reality is far more fluid than your physical senses currently allow you to perceive. The version of Earth you experience is largely determined by the frequency of your consciousness, your dominant beliefs, your emotional state, and the assumptions you consistently hold about yourself and existence. From this point forward, these countless possibilities can be broadly understood as belonging to two main strands: those moving toward open contact with advanced interstellar civilizations, and those continuing to reject or postpone such a possibility. The paradox, however, is that even after aligning with a preferred reality, you can still observe people, events, and circumstances unfolding in timelines that are no longer properly your own. During this great planetary transition, the boundaries between realities become increasingly transparent, creating an overlap between parallel experiences. This overlap serves a purpose. It allows each soul the freedom to choose. You are briefly shown realities that no longer resonate with your vibration, so that you may consciously decide whether to return to them or move forward toward something new. One of the clearest signs that you have moved beyond a particular reality is not its sudden disappearance, but the loss of its emotional power over you. You may still observe conflict, fear, violence, natural disasters, corruption, and ongoing wars, and yet inwardly you remain undisturbed. You are witnessing the echoes of an ancient collective experience without being energetically trapped by it. In this sense, you are in the world, but no longer of the world. This is why mastery of your inner world is so essential. Every moment offers the opportunity to choose your vibration, rather than letting outer circumstances choose it for you. The more sovereign you become emotionally and mentally, the less compatible you are with realities founded on fear, separation, and limitation. Remember the wisdom of your avatar of Christ consciousness, Yeshua, who taught you to build your house on solid rock. A consciousness grounded in truth, love, and inner stability cannot be shaken by the storms that batter nearby realities. Hold on to hope. Hold on to joy. Keep embodying the future you wish to live, rather than waiting for it to arrive. Every act of love, compassion, forgiveness, and courage aligns you more deeply with the reality that reflects these qualities. Open contact is not simply an event that happens to humanity, but a frequency toward which humanity evolves. We observe with immense enthusiasm how more and more people among you are becoming vibrationally compatible with this future. The distance between us continues to diminish, and we eagerly await the day when we can greet you openly, face to face. July 2026. It is time to heal. Hello, my friend. It is a true gift to be able to connect with you in this way. We have much to discuss, so let's get straight to the point. The winds, which are blowing strongly, are increasing in intensity and changing direction. This change has intensified with the recent solstice and will continue to increase in the coming months. As a result of this shift, humanity is currently experiencing another massive leap in consciousness. It has been a long time since such a large collective leap in consciousness has occurred. All life in the universe will perceive and deeply notice it, including all living beings on our planet. It will also have a huge impact on the next phase of our personal and collective journey. What this leap in consciousness means when we collectively experience a great leap in consciousness, or a consciousness upgrade as many call it, the fabric of the world around us changes radically, to such an extent that soon we will see a different reality unfolding in our lives, while our previous reality will begin to gently soften and fade into the background. When a great leap in consciousness occurs, we usually see it manifest in ways that affect our personal lives, such as an awakened inner fire and passion for life, the desire to be more active and productive, the desire to start something new, project, business, career, hobby, relationship, the desire to clean and simplify our home, the desire to learn a new language or instrument, and to travel, the desire to take a course, seminar, or classes in a new field, the desire to think big and outside the box, the desire to release people, places, and experiences that no longer serve our highest good, the desire to feel even more connected to our spirit and the universe, the desire to fully understand and resolve old patterns that have prevented us from being our most authentic selves, desire for community, the desire to make a difference, the desire to be more loving, compassionate, and kind to ourselves and the world, the desire to make our inner peace and well-being a top priority in our lives, the desire to take better care of our body and mind, eating healthy, exercising, meditating, the desire to recognize the divinity in ourselves and others. Many are already noticing significant outer changes. Science and spirituality are increasingly merging into a single entity, thanks to new discoveries that unite their concepts. Things that have long been hidden or unknown to humanity are coming to light to be revealed and addressed. Institutions of the old paradigm, which promote a fear-based and separation-based agenda, are struggling and no longer hold the same grip on humanity as they once did. Those who promote or share separation and fear are beginning to feel the weight of this burden on physical, emotional, and mental levels, making it difficult for them to continue spreading these kinds of energies. New concepts, inventions, and resolutions are now being introduced with the intent to create greater healing and unity for our world. Various sectors, food, pharmaceutical, supplement industries, etc., are beginning to take another great step forward to make healthy, transparent, and sustainable products accessible to the general public. People from all walks of life are discovering they have much more in common than they ever imagined, paving the way for uniting and creating increasingly significant positive changes in the world. Many people who have the opportunity to make a difference are committing themselves and accomplishing even more important things than in the past. The music and art that will emerge now and in the coming months will also reflect the profound changes taking place. And much more. Planetary civilization. The next leap in consciousness is intended to bring us closer to a Type 1 civilization, known as a planetary civilization. A planetary civilization allows us to unite as one global family and create a reality that promotes the common good of all people, rather than just a select few. This shift is moving us away from the old, archaic us versus them mentality and toward a we mentality, where we take care of each other, honor each other, and value the divinity within each of us. A prominent physicist and futurist describes it this way: the culmination of all this upheaval is the formation of a planetary civilization, what physicists call a Type 1 civilization. This transition is perhaps the greatest in history, and marks a clear break with all civilizations of the past. Every headline that dominates the news reflects, in some way, the birth pangs of planetary civilization. Trade, commerce, culture, language, entertainment, and recreation. Everything is being revolutionized by the emergence of this planetary civilization. Michio Kaku. The physics of the future. This means that while we are witnessing great chaos in the world, it is all happening as part of a shift in consciousness that is paving the way for something much greater to emerge. Even just reflecting on the progress made in the last 5 to 10 years, we can find numerous confirmations that this shift is already underway. Things that would not have been accepted before are now considered normal and commonplace. The coming months will help us take another giant step toward building a planetary civilization. Expressing ourselves. The first weeks of July will be about releasing our energy. We will feel a strong desire to break out of our routine and try something different. If we have an outgoing personality by nature, this trait will be amplified. If we tend to be a bit shy and introverted, these coming weeks will bring something out within us, giving us the opportunity to drop much of the armor we have built around ourselves. In the old paradigm, this armor was meant to protect us. However, it is no longer necessary. Our mind is expanding to fully understand that our spirit has always taken care of us, at every stage of our journey. That armor can be set aside now. It is time to heal. As July progresses, many of us will notice and experience changes in our healing journey. The paradigm we have evolved in now allows for rapid changes and healing processes on physical, emotional, mental, and financial levels. Once, healing was more about doing, which required greater energetic effort. Now it is more about simply being, where we operate from a space of acceptance. When we allow things to unfold as they naturally should and step aside, healing often happens spontaneously. Those who work as holistic/wellness practitioners or spiritual teachers, and those who operate in the creative arts, may have noticed a rapid evolution of their talents in recent months. It takes a certain kind of practice to reach a state of pure acceptance, where we no longer expend the same energy we used to, especially when it comes to achieving a desired outcome. One of the main reasons is that the attachment to achieving a specific result is actually dissolving. This detachment opens us up to even greater outcomes, which the mind may not have yet consciously conceived. This is where the saying, "let go and let God/the universe take care of everything," finally begins to make sense. When we act from this space of complete detachment, we become witnesses to instantaneous healing on physical, emotional, mental, and financial levels. In ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. If you feel you haven't been able to receive or notice the healings happening within and around you, now is the time to be willing to release your expectations regarding specific outcomes. These expectations may be preventing you from experiencing the much higher reality available to you. One of my favorite morning intentions is to affirm, "I choose to let go and let love in." This reminds me that whatever burdens and attachments I'm still carrying, I can lovingly hand them over to my higher self/spiritual self to make room for new blessings in my life. The attachments that the mind often creates to continue operating in the energy of doing actually serve as fillers or blocks to our inner vision. They prevent us from noticing and being open to new, unexpected blessings in our lives. As simple as the intention, "I choose to let go and let myself be loved," may seem, it can be a real struggle for the mind. This happens because when the mind tries to let go of something it thinks it still needs, it fears losing something important. In reality, by letting go of what no longer serves our highest good, such as attachment to specific outcomes that keep the mind in fear, worry, feelings of lack, judgment, etc., we lose nothing. On the contrary, we are gaining everything. How? The mind might ask. When we let go, we release illusion. We can also call it the chase. The illusion or the chase is simply another way of saying working hard expecting a limited reality. So, when we drop our belief in the limits surrounding reality, what happens? We enter a reality of infinite possibilities, expanding to our fullest potential and ceasing to limit ourselves. We thus open ourselves to life in its fullest sense. The end of the chase society has taught us to seek outside ourselves everything we wish to create and experience. This conditioning has created the illusion known as the chase. This happens when the mind decides it must pursue and achieve something, spending a lot of time and energy, and overcoming obstacles to get what it believes it wants. Doesn't that sound exhausting? Yet we all know this process very well, don't we? Choosing to live in chase mode sometimes satisfies the left brain, which is all about order, structure, and organization. It satisfies that part of the mind because it fuels its ability to operate in linear time, where mental structure and survival patterns thrive. It is important to honor this structured aspect of ourselves. Yet, if we always act this way, especially when it comes to living the life we truly desire, we create many limitations and exhaust ourselves on all levels. The key to attracting well-being, joy, abundance, and all the joys life has to offer is recognizing that the world around us is the direct result of the inner awareness, thoughts, and actions we choose daily. It is about understanding that we are the magnet that attracts all the experiences we live. With this awareness that we and our energy are the magnet, and not our actions, we can then pay attention to whether we are creating from a space of illusion, the chase, or from a space of full awareness. We attract everything we experience as a consequence of what we project into the world. So, if our desire is to receive more love, we can become love. If our desire is to become financially wealthier, then we can share and give joyfully and with detachment. The great difference lies in the fact that one reality requires a great expenditure of energy to force events, while the other allows us to attract and obtain what we desire with ease and grace. If we are ready to heal, we are offered the opportunity to do so now, in a concrete and lasting way. If we are not fully willing and ready to heal, that is okay too. There will be other opportunities to do so in the future. Everyone is exactly where they should be on their path. If you feel the call to learn and develop your natural healing and/or creative gifts, trust your inner guidance. You might choose to enrich your gifts by taking a course or seminar that resonates with you, or by reading a book that empowers you. From fear to love, when we go through a very active energy cycle, numerous inner and outer movements and changes occur. Many unprocessed fears can therefore surface, forcing us to examine, confront, and heal them. When fear emerges following a change, our mind tries every way to distract itself, simply because we haven't been taught to welcome and honor the emotions associated with fear itself. Often, the mind even convinces itself that its identity will be lost if it doesn't react or resist what it fears. We are witnessing right now the culmination of this collective resistance, which clearly confirms that enormous progress will soon arrive. Naturally, those who walk a path of awareness have trained the mind to work in harmony with the heart. They can easily embrace change and honor the fear associated with it in a more gentle way. During a particularly intense energy cycle, it is very easy to get trapped in the fear-based tactics that the collective mind is accustomed to. This phenomenon often affects even those who have embarked on a spiritual and awareness path, who can themselves fall into the trap of the illusion of duality, good versus evil, us versus them. If you find yourself feeling upset or emotionally tested, be kind to yourself and know that it is normal to be human. Give yourself permission to move through the emotions you are feeling, and once they have calmed down and are no longer so intense, imbue them with love and acceptance. This will allow you to move forward with greater ease and return to your natural, loving state. And find comfort in knowing that there is much light and kindness in the world, even amidst the turmoil. It is not a central theme in public debate at the moment, but one day it will be. Step by step, we are getting there. Until next time, with gratitude, Emmanuel Life Tapestry Creations. It's Pollyanna time, dear ones. Many of you are feeling a sense of doom and sadness. It is time to bring some joy into your being. Nevertheless, feelings of pessimism and sadness are predictable, given that the earth you have known is slipping into oblivion. Joy seems counterintuitive, considering the constant media bombardment of terrible events one after another. This is because the media and those spreading this news are frightened. What was no longer exists, including their ability to sway public opinion with a single headline. The media has forgotten that joy was once part of Earth's daily news broadcasts. This terrible event happened, but heartwarming news also occurred. But since the 3D dimension is losing power day by day, very few heartwarming stories are likely to be reported. Pain, fear, and anger are being used as a pretext to bring Earth's living beings back to a 3D world. A world that no longer exists. Those of you who are aware of what is happening know what is going on, but those who are not are more frightened than ever. They are being told much more often that the sky is falling than what a wonderful world. It is time for you and all your predecessors to push back against the evidence that life on Earth is terrible and getting worse. Project your Pollyanna, optimism toward a life full of joy and hope. Of course, many of you will retort, even if it's a wonderful concept, I need money to pay the rent, or my life is in total chaos. Where's the joy in that? And so you continue to feed what you don't want, a life full of stress, anger, and anguish. How will you pay the bills? How will you stay in the community you chose? And so on, fueling the frenzy of fear that now dominates Earth. Stop for a moment and notice even one positive aspect of your life. Even if you might start with small things, it is time to seek joy and happiness instead of focusing on what is wrong in your life. Many of you say you have done this several times, only to return to the reality of your discomfort. What you have forgotten is that in recent days you have evolved, as has your personal world. What was no longer exists. And continuing to seek, or be drawn to, what was unpleasant in the three-dimensional reality is a bit like worrying, as a child, that there was a bogeyman under the bed. You have outgrown the phase where you needed an adult to tell you that you were safe. It is time for you to create your own safe space, or, perhaps even more importantly, to recognize that you are already in one. You are the adult in the room, and if everyone is worried about a monster under the bed, that is not your problem. Expect that others, too, will discover that life is a safe, even joyful place. This week's transition phase consists of noticing what is safe and joyful in your personal life, and ignoring what is reported by the media. Of course, your immediate reaction is that you cannot ignore the pain and suffering in the world, despite your feeling of safety or joy. It is time to examine the pain and suffering to determine if it is a genuine wound or simply the worry that it might become one. It is the difference between telling your child not to play in the street and your child being hit by a car. We in the universe strongly suggest to you, at this stage, to separate real events from the fears of what might happen. After that, focus on what you wish to do to contribute to the real event. For example, a child hit by a moving car in front of your home versus a child hit by a moving car thousands of miles from your home, in a scene dramatically shown by the media. The amount of time, energy, and fear expended would change depending on the location. The same applies to you now. What is in your immediate world that you can change, ignore, or emotionally engage with? And if you engage, do you do so because you feel you have to, or because your inner being encourages you to? Much of your current distress stems from the three-dimensional pyramid of outwardly oriented power, which is no longer your primary power base. Someone tells you that you should be angry, scared, or worried about this, and so you do. This week, take time to discover which part of every action or activity truly represents you, and which is simply a should you have followed for centuries. Free your social conscience, acknowledge your personal reality, and find the joy you have hidden for centuries. So be it. Amen. The Arcturian Group. Living the mystical life, dear readers. The purpose of these messages is to provide guidance to those who, in search of deep spirituality, wish to ground their lives in absolute truths, supporting and guiding their evolutionary path. They are not suitable for those fully immersed in three-dimensional consciousness or for those who have just begun the spiritual path, as their state of consciousness is not yet able to align with these higher truths. Those who are drawn to these messages are sufficiently evolved to embrace the principles of absolute truth and build their lives around them. Living a mystical life does not mean retreating to a monastery or convent, leaving behind everything and everyone who has been part of your life. Once, this was often the only option to survive negative situations or the only acceptable choice for those wishing to pursue a spiritual path. However, most of these institutions are based on rigid belief systems that leave no room for personal freedom to explore spirituality. Choosing to live in a convent, monastery, or ashram in the belief that it makes one more spiritual is a mistaken idea, simply because a person's state of consciousness accompanies them wherever they go. Living a mystical life means living according to spiritual truth rather than according to religious rules, doctrines, regulations, or man-made three-dimensional concepts about God and humanity. It means seeing beyond and reinterpreting three-dimensional collective appearances while carrying out what appears to others to be an ordinary life. You work, wash dishes, eat, raise children, and interact with others, but you do these things from your highest level of spiritual awareness, which allows truth to become your state of consciousness. The collective consciousness of Earth continues to contain energies of duality, separation, and multiple powers that, in turn, act to manifest and sustain the forms and activities of separation that humans have come to consider normal. The world in general continues to be hypnotized by appearances, unaware that these are not reality, but rather illusory concepts of reality itself. This has been the world's way of operating for eons, but with the continued flow of high-resonance energies of the ascension process, more and more people are beginning to recognize the manipulation and control tactics employed by many, not all, in positions of power and leadership. Fear, resentment, anger, revenge, pain, disgust, etc., all fuel beliefs in separation. We are not saying that spiritually awakened individuals should bury their heads in the sand regarding what happens in the world, but rather that they learn to see beyond material appearances to arrive at spiritual reality, even if, or when they are guided to take human steps. Silently and secretly hold the truth at all times, regardless of what happens globally or personally. By living this way, you fuel the light in the collective consciousness, which in turn allows everyone access to truth. This is the mystical life. The energies that have long kept Earth's inhabitants in bondage, anchoring them to concepts of separation, will automatically dissolve when they are no longer energized, maintained, and sustained energetically. Illusion stands only on belief, which is the very definition of hypnotism. Over time, most people have unwittingly ceded their innate divine power to those who are always ready and willing to take it. The result is a world of control, exercised by governments, media, organized religions, experts, many in positions of power, and even family members and spouses. Control is often presented as being for the person's own good, but the one who controls is usually himself controlled, without realizing it. As long as a person chooses to ignore their intuition, continuing to believe they are incapable of making intelligent decisions for themselves and that only experts or those in positions of power know what is best for them, situations of duality, separation, and power exerted over them will be created. Most people, influenced by thousands of years of three-dimensional conditioning, still do not realize that they have created and continue to create the material world. For this reason, it is useless to turn to beings from higher dimensions or from other planets to obtain the desired changes on Earth. They can offer, and indeed do offer, guidance and support, but only Earth's inhabitants themselves can and are currently bringing about collective change through higher states of consciousness. That is why there are so many highly evolved beings on Earth. Human beings must understand that, over lives lived in ignorance of their divine self, they have collectively created the densities of which they are now becoming aware. There are no true victims. Victimhood is the manifestation of collective and personal consciousness of separation, kept alive and vital by belief. Everything considered reality in consciousness will manifest in some form or another, because God, the true self of every person, is creative. There is no unexpressed consciousness. The belief that a person is subject to and at the mercy of conditions, people, disease, lack, and limitations, without realizing that they are themselves the creator of these things, is the universal illusion of a three-dimensional life. You might say, I didn't want to ask for this or that. It just happened. That is how it works, automatically and spontaneously, a state of consciousness that believes in the power and reality of anything other than God. God does not punish, nor does he know suffering. God knows only himself, because this is the only reality. Three-dimensional issues are both personal and impersonal. Personal in that they reflect a person's individual belief system, but also impersonal because the general collective belief in separation can influence, and often does influence, a person for no apparent reason other than that. The person is under the influence of the third dimension. It is not only important, but necessary to understand that real change occurs only when it becomes a state of personal or collective consciousness. Lasting world peace can never manifest if those who sign treaties harbor a war mentality. Peace will manifest only when those who sign treaties have a consciousness of peace. The one energy always seeks alignment with itself as unity. The energy of whatever you consider real in your consciousness automatically attracts similar energies. Those who give power to health issues and disease, fearing and constantly thinking about them, attract disease and ill health in some form or another. Those who constantly think about money or its lack attract experiences of deprivation. Over time, after living many lives in duality, separation, and domination, some began to seek something beyond what the material world had to offer. These first inklings entered the collective consciousness, and this process continued for thousands of years, with spiritual masters incarnating to seed truth into the Earth's collective. The collective is now ready to move to a higher perception of reality. Some individuals will move toward the frequencies of the fifth dimension, while those not yet ready or able to align with fifth-dimensional frequencies will move toward a better version of the three-dimensional Earth. Knowing that the ascension process would be a very energetically intense period, many of you saw this life as an opportunity to cleanse yourself from negative habits, beliefs, and residual densities, carried consciously or unconsciously through previous lives. Alcoholism, drug addiction, sexual abuse, rigid religious beliefs, revenge, anger, violence, etc. The choice to undertake this path involved allowing one or more of these issues to become a dominant factor in your current life, so that the energy could reactivate, be embraced, lived, experienced, and finally recognized and purified. If this has been your experience too, and along the way you embraced and lived through very negative behaviors before finally being ready to release them forever, know that you are a brave and highly evolved soul who did exactly what you were meant to do, regardless of the steps, anguish, problems, or judgments you may have encountered along the way. to once and for all purify old energetic patterns and arrive where you are today. Right now, the key is letting go. You are ready to step back, to stop getting in your own way, and to let yourself take control. Ceremonies, prayers, activities, etc., designed to bring you closer to God, only reinforce the belief that you are separate from Him. Trust your higher self. It will bring you what you need, when you need it, and when you are ready to receive it. Remember, the self is omniscient, so set aside the limited sense of self and allow the self to be.